Right now, the race to get ready, millions of Floridian families on alert. We have new insight on Hurricane Dorian.
Storm Team 5 has just released the 11 o'clock update. We begin with our chief meteorologist, Steve Weigel. And Steve, it has strengthened to a Category 2.
Yeah, we have several significant changes in the 11 p.m. advisory. They are not encouraging for our area of South Florida. The winds now at 105 miles an hour, Category 2, and about a little over 750 miles away from the southeast coast of Florida. Obviously getting better organized, better presentation on the satellite loop tonight, and just a better protected hurricane from any dry air that might get entrained. It certainly changed its forward speed and more so the strength during the day, and that forecast taking it to even stronger wind speeds, 120 by Friday, 8 p.m. Saturday, 8 a.m. We're looking at 125. And then we get into Category 4 territory here, 130 mile an hour winds. There's 8 p.m. Working its way toward the Bahamas. Now, this is a track that's a little farther south. You can see it's moving over Grand Bahama now as a Category 4, winds at 140, and then continuing almost a due west track into our viewing area. There's Category 4, that's Monday, 8 p.m. And I talked about this at 5 and 6 o'clock tonight, how the timeline has been pushed back quite a bit. And earlier today, well, right up until the last 10 minutes, this was about 2 p.m. on Monday, and now it's 8 p.m. So this time of arrival for the stronger winds and the landfall keeps getting delayed, but it is a stronger hurricane at this point. It is Category 4 with 140, and you can see the timeline for the landfall is 8 p.m. instead of 2 p.m. and then working inland after that in a subtle turn toward the west-northwest and weakening pretty quickly, winds at 75. That's Tuesday. You'll also notice it's slowing down quite a bit. There's a 24-hour time line there, and there's 24 hours, and it's a much shorter distance. All right, there are computer models, and there are several reasons for this shift toward the south. The Bermuda high expected to strengthen a little more. The computer models have been diverging. They're great out 36 hours, very tightly clustered, working in toward the Bahamas. And then we see this split with now the Euro and the latest GFS making a turn toward the south and then making that move toward the north because it sees a weakness in the high and it starts to push north. And your latest Euro actually tracking along the coastline on Tuesday and Wednesday and then moving up toward Jacksonville. Some other models bringing it into the Gulf of Mexico, but there's still not a lot of consistency out day 4 and day 5, and that is the reason we have this very large error cone out, so we could see a landfall anywhere from Jacksonville back down around Miami. Now here's the wind field out through 4 days. So this is Sunday 8 p.m. and it expands. That wind field is already expanded tonight where tropical storm force winds are actually out about 120 miles from the center roughly, and that expands even more. So a landfall anywhere along East Coast Florida is going to have at least somewhat of an impact on our weather. Now, there are a couple of very defining moments coming up for this hurricane in the next 2 to 3 days, and I want to bring in James Whelan. He's going to give you that timeline as we get closer to Florida.
All right, looking out for these the next couple of days as we go into tomorrow before noon. Notice it already jumped up today to a Cat 3. We expect major hurricane status by tomorrow before noon, probably the 11 o'clock advisory if this thing still gets its act together. Another big, major, and you can tell, I mean, there's nothing really holding it back. Look at all this warm water it has to go through the track. Hardly any shear at all out there, so nothing really holding it back to become a major hurricane plus. All right, the next one, Friday evening. That's when we expect that shift to the west-northwest instead of the northwest that it's heading. That high pressure building, strengthening, and nosing back to the west there. That's what's going to nudge the storm a little bit farther to the south. The stronger this gets and the quicker it gets, the further south the storm is going to head. The weaker it gets or slower, the further north the storm can get. And then finally, of course, will be the day that is landfall. Now with the updated times here, that could be Monday night, but that also still could change in the upcoming days, which we'll keep an eye on.